of the biggest issues we have with dealing with sustainability and our current mess of coronavirus, where do we go from here? I mean, we talked about public transportation and how coronavirus is affecting people right now, especially lower income people who are often our essential workers who need public transportation, and public transportation workers who are not getting proper PPE, and how now from further on in, what do we do about using public transit, and how's that going to affect that level of sustainability? And then working from home and working in offices. We've got a lot to clear up after this mess, even if we have a vaccine. So, my article that I'm talking about is sustaining sustainability and the lessons we're learning from the coronavirus pandemic. Some of us have learned what we know from working in an office, that the mandatory 40 hours of work is bullshit. We might get 4, maybe 5 effective hours of work done in a day, and the rest of it is time wasting, not necessarily time wasting morons, but definitely just sitting there looking busy until we hit our 8 to 9 hours and leave. Hey, how about we reassess work? How about we reassess what essential means and essential pay? Because I distinctly recall how stubborn people have been about something as simple as a $15 per hour minimum wage, even though we never think a thing about CEOs that have what? Let's pretend we're talking Jeff Bezos. What's his minimum wage per hour? What is that, like 50,000 an hour every
At
day?
least. Yeah.
We think that somehow or another somebody who makes our freaking food is rude, and oh, how dare you ask for $15 per hour? But some guy who's literally just sitting there going, yeah, let's buy that, or oh, maybe we should look at that market. Okay, my job's done. There's 8 hours and 2 minutes, and he should get 50,000 per hour. Hello, wrong call. How about all those poor people in nursing homes who are dealing with not just any elderly, but your elderly? They should be getting not $8, not $10, not $12. They should be pulling down $35 an hour for what they have to do. Because unless you've had to wipe somebody's backside who is an adult and give them medicine, I think you don't quite get how hard that is. That is not unskilled labor, and they should have benefits too. So, one of the conversations I think we're often missing about sustainability is the role of proper pay, environmental racism, and classism to create a proper holistic approach towards sustainability. And I really think that as we move forward from this Michigas, pardon my use of Yiddish, but I really think that that is the best word. Uh, we're going to have a solid conversation as societies, and not just American society. It's going to be happening in Canada. I'm sure it's already going to be happening in the UK with what, a decade-long experiment in you know, cutting costs and attacking the NHS. We're going to have these conversations, and I really, really want people to start thinking about that, because everybody elected works for you, and you are the best driver of policy. You have to start thinking, even if it's I've often spoken with people who do activism and outreach, and I tell them a lot that you keep framing things for an altruistic global whole. And I get it. I feel that intently, but the people you need to convince are thinking in selfish terms. How does it benefit me? How does that apply to me? How does that relate to what I'm thinking or feeling? And we have to start taking the language and the words and start dealing with that and saying, here's why you should get, here's what you should get, here's what the approach should be. And I know it benefits everybody, and boy, I guess it's going to benefit people you don't like, but here's why benefiting even people you don't like is good policy. So I'm throwing it back out to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, somebody brought up the point of, well, two things I want to touch on there. Somebody brought up the point of the people with it's not the ceiling that we're worried about, it's the floor, because the people with the worst healthcare are the same people that are going to be spreading it around. And
Yeah.
I mean, look at now. This is a multi-week thing that we've been through. How many people that could already get insurance and medical care lost it at the end of March 31st because now it's a new month, and even though they were able to obtain health care, now they don't qualify because they don't have a job.
Yeah. That was one of the biggest parts of the ACA was the decoupling of healthcare from your job. And it is a very critical function because for a lot of people, if you've always had a job, and I work in a field where oftentimes most of these people have literally gotten their positions from when they went to a university and they wind up in the university working as a student. They get a job in the university and they have never worked anywhere else. So they have 20 to 30-year careers and they genuinely don't know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I really, after working and moving between government and university and backward and forward a few times, I understood now, oh, you genuinely don't understand what this is like. You don't understand job hunting, and you don't understand what it's like to never have insurance, especially considering most of that insurance, the pay may not be great, but the insurance is excellent.
Yeah. And then you brought up the point about reassessing how we work. I mean, when you look at the amount of time we work, but also look at how many people were able to accomplish their jobs remotely, whether they were introverted or extroverted doesn't really factor into this. Like, how many times do we have to actually drive into the office every day in the week and in the month, in the year? We could help out there. Look at what happened with the environment since this thing started worldwide. I mean, stuff is just cleaning up like that, and it would be awesome if we could keep that up when once everything starts to return to normal.
I sense a
Yes.
Russell
Yeah.
comment. I sense a Russell comment.
Me?
I,
Russell hates
I,
traffic.
I feel a Russell comment somewhere bubbling from deep within.
I'm content sometimes to step back and let other people voice their opinions. I'm just here to support that. I mean, yeah, we could talk. This isn't one show. This isn't one news topic. This could go on for a week, but
Yeah.
I think succinctly and concisely to stay within sort of the scope of the show. I mean, I think you did bring up a super important point, which is we really have to reevaluate a lot of things that we've just taken for granted. That floor is every bit as important as that ceiling. And if how many times because of my age and my generation and the generation that immediately preceded me, oh man, what am I going to do when I'm old? Those people are going to take care of me. Well, yes, asshole, you're the one that keeps voting against their education and about raising their minimum wage. So yeah, when you're helpless in the nursing home, they're going to pull the plug, and you'll deserve it. So, I mean, you either do these things right, because it's the moral thing to do, it's the ethical thing to do, or you get into a position where we start talking about ridiculous. Like I saw somebody today. See, I'm going off on a rant. I shouldn't do that. I saw somebody today say, "Oh yeah, everybody, all frontline workers should get a $15,000 bonus." And I'm like, "How about just paying them a living wage? How about screw the bonus? Just pay them a living wage. That's all they want." And I get small business, yada yada yada. This is a big realignment. This isn't one thing, one tax bill, one little law or something. This is a big realignment, but I think it's a sensible realignment that generations from now, if we're still here, somebody will look back and go, wow, those guys were thinking ahead. That was cool. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
How's that for sustainability? And hey, by the way, yep, mom's mask. Just saying. I'm the only one in San Diego County with an aloha mask.
So,
What, Joe?
so in terms of reimagining work, I mean, certainly with technology we have today, mobility, laptops, cell phones, and all sorts of video conferencing capabilities. Yeah. I mean, you can certainly look at, okay, from a business point, you can certainly push for cost savings, by not having to fly everywhere, right? That's definitely when you send someone on a corporate trip, the cost tends to be a lot higher than if you were to go on a personal trip because it's corporate. So, all that flying back and forth, that can be done with, video conferencing. Perhaps you might need a face-to-face for the final deal or whatever it may be, but at least you're not flying back and forth, multiple times just to, for every change in the contract or for every little, bit that you need to do, whatever your company may be. And of course, like you said, currently right now, sitting at home, the traffic is much lighter, pollution is a lot lower. If I may play devil's advocate, on the flip side, you run into issues with public transit because now they don't have the volume that you normally would have had if there were commuters to sustain a particular service. So how do we, moving forward, how can we still have public transit, right? We'll have to think of this too, right? How can we support public transit if there are fewer people taking it? And, can we be more efficient? Can we, yeah. I honestly don't have an answer for that. I don't know where the costs are. I don't know if it's construction, if it's labor, if it's, the simple task of not simple, but I mean the task of, what do you call those? What's that terminology we use? When you look, not sustainability. Just had it at the tip of my tongue. But
How they recoup
the
their
idea
costs?
that, sorry?
How they recoup their costs?
Yeah. So if you're doing a particular service, you have to do an cost analysis, cost benefit analysis of if I were to run this, how many people will take it? How often do I need to run it to be sustainable? That sort of thing. So there's that plus, because otherwise, then everyone just ends up driving their cars on weekends, which because there's no public transit or lower service.
I think those are great questions. I think the issue is that we have to consider that we've abandoned the concept of the public service, and we keep trying to run government and government services as if they are businesses. Right. And that's a toxin in the system. But I do believe that your questions are actually really good because I live in an area that's almost rural, and they deal with that a lot. And the downturn of ridership, it's like, dude, there's also a lot of poor people in this area who have to live farther out. So if they cut the service, that's the other side of it. So yeah.
Yeah. Plus, when you're not running it as a business, I mean, look at how many fares are you look how far you can go for a quarter. It's probably raised up to almost $1, depending on where you are now, if not more. You're still losing money even with the fare. So if you just do like some of these other municipalities and don't try to make money off of it, just do it because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Also, you could lower your costs by moving it to sustainable fuel. Make it run off of vegetable oil. Make it a hybrid. Make it a plug-in electric, or even better, those cool ones that charge in like 10 seconds when the arm comes up, and then keep on going.
Plus, those are cool.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the other one is it's not the popular option, but you got to do it, right? Is increase the taxes to be able to provide, because now you're looking at a world saying, okay, this is what we need. This is the real cost, right? Like up till now, we've probably been subsidizing it, right? Yeah. Because like even with the volume, right, of commuters, Monday to Friday, we're still subsidizing. And I'm always wondering with all these industries, like there's got to be tons of subsidies. Like the real cost is probably much higher than we think it is. So we really got to step back and think, okay, well, if those are the real costs, how can we deal with it? How without basically breaking the system.
But also look at where else we can get it from. I mean, look at what's happened to oil since we've stopped using so much of it. Other than Saudi Arabia and Russia continuing to pump it out at full speed, the consumption has gone through the floor. And I know on the national level we subsidize it way too much, but on the local level we're probably still putting more than we should into that industry. Or is there anything else that we could adjust now that we've seen where our real priorities are?
So so I guess
taxes on gas and use the money for transit.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So where can we cut the subsidies? Yeah, basically. use that
The
money
other,
for. Go ahead.
there are also costs to what we have now, to what everyone enjoys, the freedom of driving their own car anywhere they want. Those costs are health issues, roads, all of the stuff that we don't cost. It costs millions and millions of dollars or more that we don't think about. That maybe if we were using better transit, so people could get around and didn't drive as much, didn't pollute as much, that those other costs would come down. Now, is it a direct one-to-one thing? Is that return on investment, which is my 3 least favorite letters in the whole planet, ROI, because it's an excuse to do so little.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't make it perfect. Why do anything? But another good thing to look at is I hope that somebody's doing the studies right now that to see how much this pollution has affected our health. I mean, like look at how many fewer heart attacks, asthma, all of that has gone down. I hope somebody comes out with a study for from before, during, and after and says, hey, we have to change. And then, like Paul suggested, if you want to make it so people move to public transit, one, you got to make the public transit good. So if it was already good, keep it up. If it wasn't good, make it better, and then get the money from the thing you want to stop. People riding in the personal cars or people burning gas or diesel. So you have to incentivize people to do what you want them to do.
I think you guys are going to have to go through a government change to get any of this done because, as was mentioned last week, the Environmental Pollution Agency changed everything to allow cars to pollute even more. So I don't know. You guys are just fighting a battle that is unwinnable without a substantial change at the top.